Hello and welcome to the For We Are Many podcast. My name is Rob,
Hi, my name is Tricia, also known as
and
Sandra.
and we will be here. We will be here. We will be your hosts this evening. We will be your hosts this evening and your comrades always. Words are hard.
God, my stuff, it made you sound like Steph.
Sweet. We are, like 30 seconds into us, and you're having connection issues. So, first of all, I want to apologize. We have not been great at having the show lately. I moved. Trisha's got terrible signal. And, well, I mean, to be honest, everybody in our little circle has, had shit going on or just been too busy. So, it's looking like, don't quote me on this, but it's looking like we will probably be switching to Tuesday nights for the current event show, excluding tonight, obviously. But I'm a working stiff again, and I'm a cook, so that means that I work on Friday night. Originally, I asked for it off for the show, but I mean, to be honest, I'd rather just like get a block of days off rather than split shit or whatever. Anyway, so let's see. What have we missed in the last 3 weeks? Droughts everywhere. We've missed droughts. We've missed flooding. We've missed heat waves. We've missed Trump.
Pelosi.
Damn it, she's gone. Actually, for the first thing that I want to talk about, I think we'll start there, right? We can start with Trump. Mar-a-Lago was raided by the FBI the other day, and Fox News today released that they had actually like obtained the warrant. So we're gonna watch a Fox News video. How fun is that? All right. Took me just a second to pull it up there. But anyway, here we go.
Attentively. There are things that have happened on a virtual daily basis, which are really firsts that have really essentially never happened before. It really only started with the execution of a search warrant on the residence of a former president, but then it got hot from there. It was a very interesting move. I would consider it essentially a chess move by Merrick Garland. After all of the information, or as some might contend or argue, misinformation that was going around, which unfortunately culminated with a violent presence of a gunman who lost his life at the FBI field office in Cincinnati. Merrick Garland had...
I forgot about that too. So yeah, remind me to circle back to that. I read that the guy had a knife, but now they're saying gunman. But either way, somebody tried to like storm into the FBI office violently, and surprise, they were shot and killed.
I don't know how far they thought they were going to get with that, but
right. Right. And I mean, like, so now the right wingers are being all like, fucking defund the FBI, right? We'll circle back to that because that's going to be a whole back and forth. But like, they're so right for such wrong reasons. They think that up until now, the FBI have been the good guys.
Nope. Defund the police and abolish the police. That applies to the FBI too. It's just kind of funny to see all the conservatives jumping behind that one now that the FBI picked on El Presidente former on Aranjado.
Right.
Like that's what it took, is them fucking with the orange one for you to care, not the countless innocent people they've murdered over the years. Anyway.
Anyway. Oh, God.
Had pretty much had enough, and he called, of course, the press conference, which led to the next unprecedented event, which is a motion for the unsealing of the search warrant. But then what happened, which I think was also very interesting, was that the federal judge that afternoon issued an emergency order on the docket commanding the government to advise by 3 p.m. today whether or not the president would object or not object to the motion to unseal. This is relatively unheard of. Usually parties have at least a couple of days to try to address and brief an issue. The judge clearly is recognizing this as an all-out emergency. I have been checking on social media. There were indications on Truth Social from Trump that he was indicating he will likely not object. It appears leaning in that direction, and therefore there's probably not going to be an objection, and this is going to come out. And it's very unusual in all of these various aspects, but now we're going to have to digest what happened, what are the facts, what are in these 20 boxes, and how it applies under the law.
Yeah, absolutely. There with the Trump statement last night, it came down last night saying that he wants it released there. And so here we go. Just a day after, it was just hours after Merrick Garland put out that statement saying that they were working to unseal it. And now we are getting now that all happening there. So it's been a fast week, no doubt about it here for the former president here. Now, when we start learning a little bit more information about these related documents, some are classified, some are classified as super secret, and when we're talking about these classified information, the Trump and his attorneys are saying that they felt like these were declassified. How is this all going to come out in the wash at the end?
Well, I think there's a couple of problems with that contention. And of course, that's going to be one of his defenses. So you're absolutely right. That's something that they're going to raise. The problem with that is that if the lead Washington Post article and subsequent reporting is anywhere close to accurate, some of the information contained within the 20 boxes that were removed contain nuclear-related information and high-level nuclear-related intercepts and exchanges of information. The President of the United States does not have the same legal authority, the same unfettered legal authority to declassify certain elements of information as it relates to nuclear related documents. So that's going to be a problem. To the extent that he's going to say that he had the right to declassify, can he demonstrate that he declassified? It's one thing to say that he had the right to do it, but can he demonstrate that he did it as to specific documents? If he didn't do it, but he intended to do it, he doesn't have the authority to do that wide open after he left the White House. So you've identified an issue that's indeed going to be key, but depending upon the timing, depending upon the contents of the documents, it's very less than clear about whether or not he's going to be able to do so. And the mishandling of highly classified information potentially can be a felony up to federal guidelines and under federal law.
Okay, so basically, I'm not going to suffer through any more of this, but basically, the FBI concluded that Trump mishandled top secret documents. Fucking surprise. He also, had Secret Service agents delete text messages and fucking tried to wrestle the steering wheel from a Secret Service agent. I mean, come on. This is just par for the course for Trump. Yes, pun intended, because his fucking golf course home got raided.
Yes.
But, the only thing that's unprecedented about it is the fact that he's a former president. That's it. That's the only thing. But they're acting, I mean, especially Fox News. I mean, you just saw they're acting like the FBI has never raided anybody before. The FBI killed Fred Hampton in his sleep.
Right.
The FBI was behind the assassination of Martin Luther King. The FBI very well may have been behind the assassination of Malcolm X.
Right? Because the official story there doesn't add up either. But
Right.
they've got an enormous history of just putting down anybody who they see as resistance. So,
right. And in the case of MLK, that's documented. That's declassified FBI documents saying, hey, yeah, we fucking killed him.
same for Fred Hampton.
Right.
Like, that shit got FOIA'd. None of this should come as a surprise. None of it. I am surprised in the least that he decided to hang on to some documents that he didn't have the right to hang on to, because we're talking about Mr. Entitlement in Chief. You know? Come on now. Not surprising.
Former Mr. Entitlement in Chief.
Yes.
I saw, and I'm not trying to talk this up too much, but George Takei cracked me up on social media the other day, saying that Trump will always be remembered as the 45th president because he pleaded the fifth. the 45th.
Oh, God. Yeah, they also tried claiming that a whole bunch of other presidents were just illegitimate, so he was really a different number. I don't know. Dumb shit.
Yeah. I've forgotten about that. Like all that crazy shit.
Not me. QAnon folks are interesting. It's like daytime drama.
But anyway, so Trump is trying to start a goddamn civil war because he was raided by the FBI because there's evidence that he was a criminal, that he is a criminal. And if it was my house getting raided, right, there wouldn't be all these fucking working class conservative people rallying to my defense.
No. They'd be like, well, what did he do? He must have deserved it.
Yeah. So, in response to Trump getting raided by the FBI, there was a man, I forget where it was, they just said in that news clip, but there was a man that tried to enter an FBI building with a weapon violently, and he was put down by the FBI. And this is just more of the same. Like, do you not see that it's fascist yet? Do you not see that the Democrats' reaction to all of this is fascist as fuck too?
That. Yeah.
And I mean, everything that they are doing against the alt-right and against Trump right now is going to be used against you and me and anybody else who thinks differently long term.
Facts.
On our very first show, we had a whole conversation about that. Like, well, I mean, first of all, where were the fucking Capitol Police and the National Guard on January 6th? Other than, attending the riot.
Right.
Shaking
hands and posing for pictures with the rioters, so,
Oh, I see. I meant like the off-duty cops that literally were there.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's called collusion.
Anyway, so we had this whole talk then about how all of that shit was going to tarnish the name of insurrection, right? That there was going to be new laws that followed all of this that was going to specifically damage us, right? Meaning the left. And I think that that is the case. I mean, look at the censorship that we've faced on social media ever since. Look at the fact that the FBI showed up at Chairman Shaka Zulu's house asking him where he was on January 6th.
Right.
But it took a month to track down the people that actually were fucking there.
Right. Especially when there was things like, the massive buses full of like Proud Boys and shit that went there, and there's literally ticket sale receipts that they could easily just track of like, okay.
Yeah. Exactly. And why hasn't that happened?
So far, that should have been very easy to track and locate the people who, did that. But I digress.
Yeah. Hurricane season, it's still been a quiet season, but it's still fairly early. There is till the end of September. And historically, the peak of the season is about September 1st. Now, conditions, as I understand it, are not currently favorable to development, which kind of contradicts what was said earlier this week. But just because it's been quiet up until the 12th of August doesn't mean that there are going to be no hurricanes this year. I mean, less than a week ago, NOAA and the National Weather Service updated their hurricane outlook and still said that it's supposed to be an above average season. That's counting the fact that there have only been 3 named storms in the Atlantic this season.
Right.
So be prepared. Even if we don't somehow end up without a tropical storm or hurricane making landfall here in the U.S., still be prepared. You never know when it is going to happen. And I mean, we've seen over the last few years that, the strength of these storms is increasing. The amount of rainfall is increasing. And, like the number of severe, meaning category 3 or higher hurricanes is increasing. This goes hand in hand with the warming of the oceans and rising sea levels. So, what we're going to start to see, I think, in the future is hurricane season starting earlier and lasting longer, or starting at the same time and lasting longer. Either way, we're going to be looking at a longer hurricane season. I don't know. That's really all I got on that. There's not a whole lot going on with hurricane stuff at the moment.
There has been hella flooding. Shit. Ooh. Okay.
Yeah, actually, I mean, you're probably the better one to talk about that. But if you're talking about there in Arizona, I mean, I know Ducey a couple of weeks ago declared a state of emergency in Coconino County, which is Flagstaff. There was severe flooding in multiple parts of Las Vegas. And then I'm sure that there was other, California, Arizona, Nevada, New Mexico cities that were hit by these same storm systems. I just haven't heard about all of it.
Yeah, the flooding was really bad in Flagstaff. Not too bad here.
Are you still there?
Stuff I've seen the last few days from the Vegas Strip made me go, holy shit. The Vegas Strip is underwater. Casinos underwater. It's pretty fucked there right now. Let's see if I can find a video of any of that coverage.
I have an ABC News clip.
Okay.
Or
Fire away.
Well, hold on. There's a storm chasing thing too.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, this'll work. God damn it. If I do it right.
Screen share that shit. There we go.
They're gonna show the flooding too.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, that might not look that deep, right? But it will still take you the fuck out at the knees.
Yeah.
And good luck getting back up.
Yep. Those currents are fucking running hard through there. And that's damn near waist deep on a tall person like myself. So that would definitely be waist deep on anybody who's like, lower 5 foot range. That shit'll take your ass out. That ain't nothing to play with. Especially if you
Right.
get pulled under and crack your head on one of them posts. You're done. Stay the
Right.
fuck out of here.
Right.
And whoever was catching this video was brave to even get close to it.
Yeah, right. But you see the trash cans and shit just
Right? Yeah, that whole parking garage just got a power wash.
yeah.
Or bad humor. It's kind of my thing. Damn.
Why does that look? It's probably the angle, but why does that look like it's flowing up?
Yeah, that is the angle. It's actually flowing down, clearly. Gravity's a thing. But just the way that's wrapping around there. Yeah, God, look how deep that is once you're out of the actual parking
Yeah.
garage. This is fucking ridiculous.
And I mean, this is all, like one area, right? So, like, as I understand it, most of the strip was underwater, like you were saying, casinos, fucking, like, flooded lobbies and shit.
Yeah. That's what I was seeing yesterday and the day before was shots from right inside the casinos with the water that deep just rushing through. Like, what the hell do you do?
Yeah. And
Yeah,
then in Flagstaff, the flooding was due to a burn scar from the pipeline fire.
Yep.
So if you don't know, when a fire burns through, it leaves a burn scar, and then the foliage and vegetation there is dead, so there's no root structure to soak up, some of the water. So basically, the rain and the topsoil make a nice mudslide, and there ain't a goddamn thing you can do about it. I mean, besides like sandbag your shit and buckle up.
Yeah. Hang on for the ride. It's going to be an interesting one,
Right. This is, obviously, it says down in the corner, this is from Arizona Game and Fish.
scars making washouts where there ain't supposed to be one.
Right. Well, I'm pretty sure that they knew it was coming. I'm pretty sure that they bulldozed a path. I mean, that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Well, that, and I mean, how would they know, like, hey, the flood's going to hit right here at this time, be there? Like,
Right.
but just like, keep in mind that the water that's rushing down this burn scar right here is like mud. Like,
Mm-hmm.
well, I mean, watch the consistency of it as it comes down.
Right. It's thick, heavy clay mud. What a lot of people don't understand about this part of the desert, it is hard clay. So, when it gets dirty mud,
I think I lost you.
I'm still here.
Oh, you're still there.
Yeah. I was just saying, like, out here, this part of the desert, which that is still high desert there, this dirt, it's not like sand. It is thick, heavy clay dust, basically. So when it gets, excessive water like that, it turns to very thick, heavy mud.
Yeah, I mean, as you can see, like, seriously, that's insane. I haven't seen any videos of like what the damage is like, but just to show the scale, the amount of water, the amount of mud, I should say. That's why I chose this video.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you got any other ones that you wanna show,
I don't have anything pulled up offhand, but I think this gets the point across pretty well of, bad these mudslides get out here. I mean, it's carrying entire trees down this new mud river,
right?
Um, that's something I've seen a lot of in the footage from like West Virginia and their flood too, of the waters being so torrential that they're carrying massive ass fucking trees down them, just clearing their own path. Like,
So Eastern Kentucky.
Go for it.
I got a fucking 8-minute CNN video. This is from 2 weeks ago. Most of you have probably heard it or heard about it. But yeah, as you were saying, it's not just Eastern Kentucky. It's also West Virginia, parts of Tennessee. I forget where else. Like I said, it was like 2 weeks ago. But yeah, here we go. Buckle up again.
Right.
Breaking situation. In the first place, they live up high, and as you talk to people around here, for many people, the difference between losing a house and having a home, the difference between life or death, simply had to do with how high up your house sat here in Eastern Kentucky. And they described a situation where after the rains came and the flash flood started building, they could hear the cries of neighbors, people calling for help, but they couldn't help them because they couldn't get across the water. So a concerning situation, certainly for everybody here. Meanwhile, you talked a little bit about the governor. We're told that he did postpone an earlier flyover today simply out of concerns about the weather, apparently going to go at a later time and going to brief reporters. He did get a commitment from the White House, we're told, to declare a state of emergency here in 13 counties in Kentucky as the cleanup begins. Of course, we're still talking about a recovery at this stage. Here's the governor now talking about the situation in this state and how it's unprecedented.
We've never seen something like this. Folks who deal with this for a living, have been doing it for 20 years, have never seen water this high. Whole roads washed out. We still can't get to a lot of people. Though there's so much water, the current is so strong, it's not safe for some of the water rescues that we need to do. So we'll be in the search and rescue certainly today and tomorrow, and then we're going to be looking at a year's worth at least of rebuilding.
And I would say, looking at the devastation just here along this road, maybe more than a year. They did bring in the National Guard, and they say that contributed quite a bit to the rescue and recovery effort yesterday. Back to you, Erica.
Yeah, so important to have as much help there as possible. Do appreciate it. Thank you. Joining me now is Kentucky's Lieutenant Governor Jacqueline Coleman. It's good to have you with us this morning. I want to pick up on what we were hearing there, both from Joe Johns, my colleague, and also from Governor Beshear. The talk about not being able to get to a lot of people who need to be rescued because of that rushing water. What about the communications, just in terms of staying in touch with people? Are there communication concerns still this morning?
Well, first of all, Erica, thank you so much for having me on and for bringing attention to this devastation in eastern Kentucky. To answer your question, yes, there are many efforts ongoing at the state level, as well as in the local elected officials' communities that have been most impacted. Some of those communications are organic. They are neighbors reaching out to neighbors, utilizing social media, texting, calling to check on family members, and those messages are making.
They're talking about, by the way, I just want to interject here. They're talking about mutual support, mutual aid, community care, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
And we always see that in disasters like this, that's what we revert to. But we need to keep in mind all the time that we are in one big ongoing natural disaster, right? So this kind of shit that we do when there's severe flooding or there's a wildfire or an earthquake, this is how we need to be all the time. We need to build those community ties now before this happens.
Yep.
But anyway, back to hell yeah. Anyway, back to this.
Making their way to Kentucky Emergency, as well as the state police post in the region. And then there are systems being put in place for how to continue the rescue, but as well as making sure that we get supplies and are able to offer shelter to victims who may not have anywhere else to go. The governor's actually opened 3 of our state parks in the eastern part of the state, specifically to house folks who have lost everything.
Now, keep in mind that things like that used to be really common across the country, right? When there was a heat wave, people would sleep in the fucking park, right? And that was fine. But you try to do that now, and they say, oh, you're setting up a tent city, and the fucking cops come in and beat you up. I'm just saying.
As they work to begin to rebuild their lives.
It is, the pictures are devastating, and I know it will be traumatic for some time to come for the folks. President Biden did just approve that emergency disaster declaration. What will that, or what does that open up for your state, and how quickly do you think you could see some of that aid and funding?
Well, the governor moved very quickly to declare a state of emergency, and we appreciate the Biden administration for responding quickly as well, understanding how dire this situation is in eastern Kentucky. We have 17 counties that have been significantly impacted. The most impacted looks like at the moment it is Breathitt, Letcher, and Perry counties. And so by declaring a state of emergency, we're going to be able to get aid not just now for rescue and recovery missions, but also in the long run as we work to rebuild. Which is, it's going to be a long road. As you can see from these pictures, this is not anything that's going to be an easy recovery, but I will tell you this, we have the most compassionate leaders. We have the most compassionate and hardworking people right here in Kentucky. And the only thing I've seen that rivals the devastation that you're seeing in these images is Team Kentucky's response. We are going to stand with these folks today, tomorrow, and in all the days to come as they rebuild their lives.
And that community will be so important. You know, Governor Beshear earlier this morning on CNN said he does expect the current death toll, which is now up to 16, He expects that will likely more than double, including some children. Do you share those concerns?
I do. And
While we watch the last couple of minutes of this, do you think you can Google a current death toll?
Yeah, I can do that.
But like, I mean, this is the fucking top of a house. Like, this is some serious shit. This is feet of water. This isn't waist deep. This is feet. Oh, hello, welcome.
Says here it's 39 people. And hey, what's up? How's it going, Dan?
Just joining on. I'll be silent while I'm eating dinner, and then I will unmute when the time is right.
Sounds good.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Right now we're talking about the flooding in Kentucky.
I didn't know about it. News to me.
Oh, that was like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, it was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Well, we usually do these shows weekly, but we've missed the last two. So we kind of have quite a bit to catch up on, and we're kind of just trying to hit highlights. You know, like the FBI raid at Trump's fucking house, and we already talked about that. But we'll probably circle back to it to make fun of the Orange Man at some point.
Of course.
And to make fun of fucking, oh my God, these conservatives. I'll take it back there right now. These conservatives.
Continue.
These fucking conservatives, man. They're like, defund the FBI. And it's for all the wrong reasons. Like, hey, you're this fucking close, but you're still way off.
Yeah.
Like they act like the FBI has been the good guys up until, they raided Trump.
Right.
But
anyway. Just think of January 6th all over again of like, right idea, wrong motivation.
Yeah. Anywho, is it?
Governor Beshear and I, we are the governor and lieutenant governor, but he's a dad of a 12 and a 13-year-old. I am the mother of a 2.5-year-old, and the empathy and the shock of thinking about putting yourself in those shoes, which is what we do as leaders, is more than most of us can imagine right now. Mm-hmm. I cannot imagine looking for family members, especially children and elderly, which are obviously high priority at this point. It's devastating. And you're right, that number, it continues to rise. The flood the waters have not crested yet. We're still having rainfall in Kentucky that's prevented the governor from actually doing a flyover this morning. He will do it, but when it's safe. And so the tragedy continues, but we've already conducted 50 air rescue missions, boat rescues, and we are determined to save as many folks and to find as many folks as we can.
Real quickly before I let you go, beyond some cooperation from the weather, what is your biggest need this morning?
Our biggest need is certainly we want to make sure that we get water and cleaning supplies to the locations in the counties that have been affected. Those are being set up. Those drop places are being set up as we speak. But to anyone who's watching that feels moved and feels the need to help in some way, every dollar you can direct to the Team Eastern Kentucky Relief Fund is a dollar that will go directly to supporting this rescue mission and helping our fellow Kentuckians rebuild. So that website is Team EKY floodrelieffund.ky.gov. And please know how very much appreciated the people of Kentucky are, and how grateful we are for the support, the outpouring of support that we've seen to make a part of this state who has been that has been left behind in the past, understand how much we care for them.
Lieutenant Governor.
So, all right. Now let's remember how how poor exactly Eastern Kentucky is, right? She's not fucking around when she said that they've been left behind. But you want to know what could have saved at least some of those 39 lives? Infrastructure. I mean, it's literally that simple, but infrastructure built to withstand severe climate events. We have known that the climate was warming for almost 100 years. We have known that it was going to get worse and worse for decades. And yet we've done nothing. We wait until one of these fucking events happens, and then we're like, oh my God, it's a 500-year flood. You know, there's
They're
a...
happening, every couple of months now instead of every 5 years or 500 years.
Yeah.
It's insane how many 500-year or 1,000-year storms we've seen recently. Like, wait a fucking minute. We're going to have to change those terms when they're happening this frequently. But also, before I forget, because she was, announcing where you can help at, there's another place where you can help directly. On Facebook, there's a group called EKY Mutual Aid that clearly is for people in Eastern Kentucky. That one's been established for a long time, but I guarantee you that they've got some stuff going on right now to help people with the flooding. So that would be a good spot to also check and see if there's people in need of some direct mutual aid there too, whether it be for food or clothes or whatever, because everybody's lost their everything in these floods. So check that out on Facebook, EKY Mutual Aid. Good folks in there.
James said in the comments, natural disasters suck because we all have enough problems before, during, and after them.
Right.
And I just want to point out that the people that are affected first are always the working poor. Always. And I mean, when we really start seeing a significant sea level rise, it's going to be the low income people of color communities that are affected by it first. How long is it going to take before we can get anything done on climate change?
Right.
And don't you know, Jack, we just passed a federal bill that actually does something for climate change. The Austerity Control Act. Also another ACA.
Oh,
They're so great. They're so great with those, aren't they? We're going to be able to build all the electric car charging stations you can shake a stick at.
Will they at least be solar ones and not ones where you plug into a fucking gas generator and defeat the purpose? I've seen so many photos of those, and it's like, what do you think you're doing there that's not helping if you're charging your electric car with a gas generator?
I mean, depending on the generator and how much power that it takes to put the car, to charge the car, it's probably more efficient than like a V8 gas engine.
Maybe, but it's still not ending the fossil fuel usage there, It's so frustrating.
Well, yeah.
And when I mentioned...
Go ahead. My bad.
When I mentioned this to the progressive types who are all about, they're middle class, they've installed solar panels on their house. And whenever I mention like a car is still a car, they look at me like I got three heads. And quite frankly, it's just a matter of like, well, it's not practical to break car dependency or to reform towards breaking that. That's as crazy as saying, a strategy for the left is to organize labor enough so that a general strike could actually, occur. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, either way, there's a fuck ton of work involved with that.
Right.
It's easier progressive middle class people who are involved. I mean, I blocked a casino in my city exclusively because there were middle class people that got involved, and it was just like it's like magic compared to like organizing people in the hood or even activists, which is like herding cats. You know, you throw an event, all of the people, all these middle class Del Mar people, suburb of Albany, come, and some of them even want to just like hand over checks right away. I'm like, oh no, we don't need the fundraise. This is like where the campaign, like this gathering and the news coverage, this is enough to put pressure to show the developer that like, you know, oh, this is a risk. Maybe I don't want to do Albany. Too much, you know, heat. And the guy was like insulting us because like we couldn't accept his check. I'm like, wait, what the hell are you doing? You don't know what you're doing then. If, you know, like, well, we didn't set up a bank account. I mean, we literally just threw this together 2 weeks ago to oppose a casino in Albany. And yeah, and it was just funny. It was just so super funny because he was so used to like, this is what activism looks like, showing up to a talk and giving a check. And yeah, it was funny.
Well, I mean, good for him for giving a shit enough to want to throw some money at it. Every Marx needs an Engels, but
but we need a Marx first.
Yeah. Like the funding helps, but only once things are put in place to actually use that funding towards some direct action. You know?
Well, there are Orthodox Marxists out there worth listening to. I was found a YouTube channel. I'll have to look it up. Give me a moment. You continue on. I don't want to grind things to a halt.
Oh no, you're fine, man. We actually have like not much prepared for this. We kind of like talked on the phone like we're going to talk about these things. That's as organized as we got this week.
Okay. So I found this YouTube channel. I don't know, interviews of Marxists or something, and it's Center for Post-Capitalist Civilization. And they don't have that many videos. They mostly feature interviews with basically post-capitalist visions for the future, including the Greek Greek finance minister, Zappakis, and this guy, what was his name? Paul Cockshot. Great name. Can you guess where Paul Cockshot might be from? Maybe does he teach out of Glasgow or Edinburgh? Anyway, and he has a book that he wrote. Say again? Cockshot.
Is that legitimately his last name, Cockshot? Or is that just a handle?
No, he's Scottish. He's Scottish. COCKSHOTT.
Nice.
So he wrote a book in the early 90s, you know, during Perestroika. You know, when the Soviet Union's falling apart, you have a number of new left Marxists or post-Marxists write books about like, okay, what are we going to do next? You know, they're purely academic people. And Tommy Lee broke the internet yesterday. Who's Tommy Lee?
The drummer.
Oh, the drummer?
Yeah.
Drummer for what? What band?
Oh, God. Why am I having a brain shart? Rob, come back. God, I'm going to have to Google it. I don't remember, but
anyway,
he's
a band drummer.
Shots. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, a rim shot, right. Okay. So, anyway, they've written books, like one's called Paracom, they all have basically the same tenor, which is a planned economy that isn't by the state, but the state facilitates democratic planning. Cockshot's way is like the computer system approach of making the calculations to get around the market contradictions and things. Because it's socialism, but there's still contradictions as seen in Yugoslavia. You still have uneven development, and you what was the other thing? I took notes, but uneven development was the thing that jumps out. Oh, and market mechanisms are still like doing sectors, so you usually have high unemployment, which is what happened in Yugoslavia. You had a lot of brain drain and people going to Germany. But anyway, so he's the computer guy, and it's always fun or cool to see these kind of old academic types, but because they are open-minded like we are, like they are like, as far as like where they used to be when they were young, but basically they talk about recent and current events with the same understanding and with itness as they probably did when they were our age or in their 20s and the 60s. That because they have that Marxian or materialist basis to judge things, and they've kept on top of things, so they don't unlike say Chomsky, who doesn't after a certain year he doesn't seem to have new things to say, or just this is just what I've been talking about since the 80s. No, they usually have new takes, or they put out new books, reformulations of their ideas. So it's well, obviously new things have been learned, especially in computing. But he was asked a lot of technical questions, and it was just so spot on, and doesn't talk like you're an idiot. Whoever's listening is an idiot. So it's refreshing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the opposite of
bringing those ideals into a more modern context and how to apply them to current day markets. Yeah. I mean, granted, in Capital, I mean, we're talking thousands of pages where Marx talked about coats. Well, those same concepts apply today, whether you are, a barista, whether you are working in a warehouse doing, shipping and stuff, whatever it is that you're doing, your labor is adding value to that, an inherent value, and that still needs to be applied when it comes to the dialectics of the situation,
Yeah. You pointed out how 3D printing being the equivalent of someone scratching into a clay tablet, as far as it's writing, because it's a scriber. It's not the same as the industrial process where you have parallelization, he called it, things in parallel. What makes industrial processes is that you have multiple things happening in parallel. In 3D printing, it's one thing at a time. So it's good for prototypes and art, but it's not going to be able to compete with an actual industrial, with a factory making, with what was it called, injection molding, with plastic, where you can do hundreds of things at a time, which is the only way you can kind of make enough household goods, if you're going to make household goods. Or at least it's a much more efficient use of resources.
Yeah, with 3D printing, it's awesome because it puts the ability to produce those things in any consumer's hand that can get a hold of a 3D printer, but it is a much slower process than the injection molding.
Exactly.
Time.
It's good for hobbyists, and that's who's using it right now. But it's like he just points out, it's an exaggeration when it's called the next industrial revolution.
Right. Maybe once the tech gets there where it is actually performing at a higher rate than, injection molding, okay, then it might be competitive for that. But for now, it's at least a cool option for people who like to handcraft things like that, and make use of that skill.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, is that green beans you're eating? I love
asparagus.
Green beans.
No, it's asparagus.
Okay. Looked like a fresh green bean.
Well, they're related.
Yeah.
I was really late, but I started growing some herbs on my windowsill.
That's what's up. Yeah, I don't have anything growing right now myself, but Rob's been over there getting new garden beds set up at his new house and stuff. Getting some tomatoes, and I forget what else. Herbs, the whole works. We're talking gardening now.
Ah,
Matt.
yeah. I mean, I got that. I was putting my headphones back on as you're like, well, Rob is growing a garden.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty small this year, but we didn't move in until the middle of July, so I was pretty limited on what I could do.
Great.
But next year,
So news-wise, let's see. I know there is. Well, you know what? How about I just go to a news site and then.
Oh, we were also going to touch on the situation in Taiwan with Pelosi poking a bear about World War III to protect her personal investment portfolio.
uh,
That news seemed to be over before it even began.
true. But I mean, and it's funny because the mainstream media is like, oh, China's not going to do shit. But I mean, China's sanctions are probably more effective than ours against Russia have been.
Yeah. And, to be fair, she's lucky they didn't just shoot her plane out of the fucking sky. Shit.
That would have been very funny.
It would have. It really would have. But,
Well,
Yeah.
it's interesting to know. It's interesting to note that in the Taiwanese case, and probably even the mainland, that the status quo, which is it's not the settled question, but yet that's kind of what everyone wants. And everyone kind of, at least a majority, kind of we want to decide this later, but it seems to be no concrete idea of what this later will look like. And I can't imagine it. And maybe even the mainland can't imagine it. I don't know what their plans are. Of course, they're good at actually hiding what they're doing. So it's kind of like one of those. There's a lot of geopolitical questions like that where it's like, well, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. And of course, that's how many comfortable people feel about climate change. We'll adapt when we absolutely have to. And because it will be a market mechanism then. It will be a reaction. It will be a market reaction. Because right now it doesn't seem like, well, and they actually say they will tout how if there's a market reaction now, like cheaper solar panels, and say, look how cheap is getting. That is their see, the system does work. We will be adapting to climate change and going green. But I mean, and then we stamp our feet and go, it's not going to be fast enough. They're like, yeah, but what do you got to do? At least it's happening. At least you got to be happy that a little bit's happening. I got solar panels on my house. Or up in New York, we have this program or a department called NYSERDA, and they are kind of the purveyor of sustainability grants of various types. And right now they're providing a grant to do studies. This is what it usually is. You do a study, and then you have 5 years of looking at it, of what you could do to make a neighborhood sustainable. Right now, there's this engineer that's been hired to do a feasibility study for geothermal for my neighborhood, which is, because it's an underserved, poor ass, blighted, used to be the blighted neighborhood. Now it's a little better because of Habitat for Humanity and these other non-profits that do urban housing with, all the tax credits you can muster and whatever. And the general idea is to have a geothermal system where you run the pipe around under the streets, and and by geothermal it's like the heat pump, the underground piping. and
Yeah.
and all the houses are connected to it. So if you don't know if you need an explanation, but it seems pretty good. But his job is also not only figure out the engineering aspects, but also like how would you pay for this, and should we be looking at putting drill holes down under the few parking lots that are in the neighborhood. That's because it's easier to get drill deeper there than under a house or under the street. Yeah, so it looks really good on paper, and he said like he was just completing one in Massachusetts. So, but then there's this old fucker in the neighborhood who's like this retired engineer, and he was like pissed off. Like he was like, "This is dumb." I saw a lecture, and it was like the heat exchangers are actually not that inefficient, and his numbers are wrong. And I'm like, "Fuck you, buddy." This is what I've been seeing for the last 15 years. That water pipes are more efficient than air exchangers, air conditioning with the air, because you lose a lot of heat during that process. All you're doing is taking the moisture out of the air, which is pretty heat energy intensive. With geothermal, you're just exchanging heat for whatever the temperature is underground, which is always a stable 55 degrees. If you don't know how that works, but that's geothermal energy. In a residential sector, it's just probably a high upfront cost because you have to dig, you have to drill down all this piping and shit. But I mean, it's they're the systems of the future, really, but in the present.
Yeah.
Right. There's
Another
a lot
thing
of
that
areas
I
have
feel
already
like,
started using beautiful thing.
yeah, I feel like another
in
thing
Holland,
that gets,
Michigan, they use geothermal. Just a quick example: Holland, Michigan, geothermal. They heat the roadways and the sidewalks with that to keep them from freezing in the wintertime. And so they don't have to use salt and all that shit to clear the roads. The roads just stay clear because they're heated from geothermal.
Well, is that geothermal or is that just underpiping with hot water?
Honestly, I would have to look it up, but I think they have it running on geothermal. Because
Okay.
they planned it after what they had seen being done in Europe with geothermal for projects like that. But it's definitely safer for the environment than dumping a bunch of and shit on the road.
No, there are
Okay, Rob, you were gonna say.
yeah, I was. I feel like another thing that gets overlooked when we're talking about climate change and we're talking about infrastructure. Geothermal is a hell of a good step, but water is also another important step, right? And desalination always gets written off as too expensive or impractical, but you can do it using the fucking sun, right? And we need to do something about the water situation, right? The entire East Coast is under a moderate to extreme drought, depending on where you're at. And the entire West Coast is on fire every summer. Except for this summer, it's flooding, apparently. But
they're getting all of our rain.
Well, it's
goddamn bastards.
Right. It was on fire first. And now it's flooding since the monsoons hit right after massive fires. So, mudslides. But either way, the riverbeds are drying the fuck up. Lake Mead is drying the fuck up. The stuff I was looking up the other day at Hoover Dam, for example, it is, if I remember right, around 1,300 feet lower than usual. And it's getting to the point of dangerously low levels. So we've got to figure something out for a source for drinking water and for agriculture. And I think desalination is a good place to start looking because, we need to make use of what we have. And if we don't have fresh water in these rivers to be able to access, don't have enough of it. Okay, let's make use of the oceans. The ocean level is rising. Let's make use of some of that and actually, you know, use desalination to provide people with some water, because the shortages are fucking insane. The fact that they are cutting water to agriculture first and not golf courses pisses me the fuck off.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
Well, it
Yeah.
does make more capitalist value, doesn't it?
This
That's
is
why
how much that matters.
you can have this one guy. He covers like inner city transit. He's a transit nerd. Really, he pores over the stats from the federal government, and he covered the most baffling like urban golf courses where it was very specific set of golf courses. These are golf courses that are within a 5-minute walk of a major train stop. So, these are train stops that are supposed to be, maybe there's meant to be transit oriented development, or there should be, but the zoning prevents it. But not only that, you will have a little golf course next to a light rail transit stop. So there was one in Mexico City. There was a ton in Singapore. And he was just going through them all, and it's insane. But and of course he looked at one in Dubai. But what was I going on about? Oh yeah, the real danger is that most of the water used for our Midwest, our bread basket, is coming from underground. And that is a finite supply that was built up over a million years or so. And once it's gone, it's gone. And the rivers haven't been enough for a very, very long time. And it's somewhat of a puzzle. I mean, definitely we're going to be eating a lot less corn or corn-based products. And everything is going to have to shift in some way. So I'm not sure, like saying like we're going to get it from the ocean and then pipe it to the Midwest. It seems to be patches, duct tape, putting more duct tape on that leaky pipe until there's no more pipe. It's just duct tape. That's what it feels like to me, these things.
Well, I mean, I was talking about coastal areas primarily. I mean, it wouldn't be practical to pipe it to the Midwest. Just like it wouldn't be practical to pipe Mississippi water to the Colorado.
Right.
Just wait.
Oh, dude, people keep bringing it up like over and over and over again, and it's just like, what in the fuck do you think you're going to accomplish? But these rivers drying up, obviously the Colorado is kind of like the canary in the coal mine, right? It hasn't year-round flown to the Gulf of California, flowed to the Gulf of California and Mexico in like over a decade.
Oh, longer than that. Longer than that.
I'm sure that it is, but
I was a kid when CBS Sunday Morning was doing an expose, like a look at the Colorado and showing how it just stops in the middle of the desert.
Right.
Yeah, and it's definitely gotten much, much worse since then. But it's not even just there, right? We're having water issues here on the East Coast. Like keeping reservoirs at their proper levels has become very difficult. We have outside water bans, which is funny because they don't in Arizona. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Anyway, so outside of the U.S., though, this is still an issue. The longest river in France dried up over decades, obviously, but it officially stopped flowing this week. I forget what it's called. But on top of that, speaking of Europe anyway, the Thames in the UK and the Rhine in Germany are also drying up at an alarming rate. In addition to rivers drying up, the trees that normally stop at the Arctic tundra are advancing by like 40 kilometers per year, right? There are trees growing in the Arctic tundra. And according to the scientists that made that discovery, that shouldn't be happening for another couple of 100 years, according to the models.
Yeah. That part.
So we're really in a world of shit.
Let's face the abyss together. And here I am eating poutine like a sucker.
Isn't that just cheesy fries?
No. No. Poutine is gravy, cheese, and fries. The gravy
Okay.
is key.
Okay.
And I also had this brisket thrown in.
Stand corrected.
It's gourmet poutine.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever done gravy with cheese with fries. Definitely chili with cheese with fries.
Well, important to poutine is that they're cheese curds, not cheese. But which isn't always the case, but I guess it always is the case. We don't really have a lot of it here in Albany since we're not in that actual cultural zone, but I guess we're close enough to it that it's leaked down in some of the more gourmet bars. We're doing it. Oh, we're finally getting a barcade in my area.
Nice.
Wow.
Hell yeah.
Hopefully it's better than the one in Buffalo. Every play was 50 cents, and the arcade games were set to like probably the original setting where it's just like, yeah, a play is basically going to be a minute, and you're going to die.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Hell no.
Let's see other things that are pertaining to climate change. There is wildfires in Canada. There is wildfires in Newfoundland, which is Canada. Yes, I know. There was. I had something else, but I don't know. But yeah, anyway, the point is that everywhere that you look, no matter what continent, there is some sort of climate change fueled natural disaster currently happening. Whether it's a major river drying up, whether it is a outright water source shortage, whether it is wildfires, whether it is severe, unusual weather, we're all affected by it.
Yeah. Just too many people still have their blinders onto it.
Yeah, or you'll have people that'll argue like to the fucking death that, well, the climate's been changing longer than mankind's been here, which is true. And a shift in volcanic activity can put as much CO2 into the atmosphere as we have. The difference is the last time that the CO2 levels spiked like they are now was over the course of about 10,000 years, not 150.
That part. That's where, their arguments completely go off the fucking rails because they're not actually looking at the data. And when you look at the data and you see that these changes are happening exponentially faster than your typical, global climate changes that are normal, that's when you go, oh, there's a fucking problem. There's a fucking problem. We're driving these climate changes to extremes much faster than they've ever happened before. Gee, could it be what humans are doing?
Well, right. And I mean, two big things that I have really seen ramp up this year are the breaking apart of the ice shelves in Antarctica and the advancing of trees in the Arctic. 40 kilometers a year. We're talking about trees. We're not talking about like a pack of wolves migrating 40 kilometers in a year. We're talking about fucking trees.
Yeah. People are going to ignore that too. I mean, when there are entire shelves breaking off of the Antarctic ice shelf, when we've got polar bears fucking dying because they're losing their ice shelves in the Arctic, and they're coming further and further inland just to even try to survive and find food. We have massive problems here. We're seeing polar bears breeding with other bear subspecies too, just to survive. Which, thankfully, at least they have that capacity. You know, due to common ancestry and everything, they've been able to, breed with, I think it was black bears I was reading about. But, you know, we can see that nature is struggling just to survive, and it's because of our actions. It's because of corporations. It's because of the military. Those two are the biggest fucking polluters on the planet, is the U.S. military and these massive corporations that produce excessive toxic waste that is fucking our entire environment.
Would you like me to put some gravy on the fries? So I have an article. It's from my local Hearst newspaper, Hearthstone newspaper, about the new it's IRA, Inflation Reduction Act, and so here's some of the provisions. Provides a $7,500 tax credit to purchase for new purchases of electric vehicles, though most EVs won't qualify because the legislation requires them to include batteries made in the U.S. The legislation expands tax credit for homeowners. They get a $500 credit. For energy efficiency equipment, I guess, expanding HVAC. If they have air conditioning, heat HVAC system anyway, which really houses really shouldn't in the long run. But it's weird to say like, oh, my long term my adaptation to climate change is ensuring that houses all have HVAC systems, that they're all air conditioned instead of cooled by some other means or something, something like that. I'm sorry, I'm merely lagged. Am I coming in all right?
Yeah.
Yep. I can hear you fine.
Just be aware my video is really lagged. Like I'm seeing myself chewing. I'm whatever. So let's see, a 500 credit to 1,200 that a homeowner could claim each year. Vincent Barnes, Senior Vice President for Policy at the Alliance to Save Energy, said this would allow homemaker owners to make new energy-efficient investments over several years. But for all Americans, including those who aren't homeowners, the impact would be limited. The estimate of Verdonium Group is that the average household will save roughly $100 on gas, and maybe electricity will become cheaper as more Americans drive EVs and houses become more energy efficient. Though I'm not seeing how electricity could become cheaper if demand for it increases at an exponential rate because of driving. And also, generally, it is going to reduce inflation by shrinking the national deficit, which is made up of less spending and slightly more taxing. Though, if you just keep doing, the liberal states or the neoliberal states, capitalist or market mechanisms, main way of doing climate change, anything, is to just have market incentives, which come in the form of tax credits. So if you ever seen the news, like tax credits, it's all about how the government isn't allowed or shouldn't spend money to do things, and that we need to have market mechanisms. So, uh, yes, yeah, James is correct. I have a negative view of HVAC systems. They are pretty much required for various purposes. I remember someone joking about like how well I was suggesting like on this thing about a convention center or something like maybe why aren't more conventions outside or why do they have to be an airplane like these convention centers and so on and indoors. It's not assumed it's going to be raining, and even if it is, then it's just a matter of having tents. um,
Right.
I think someone then like responded because I guess my quip wasn't that it should be outside, but um, they said like, "Have you ever smelt a nerd?" Inside. I'm like, and it started a conversation about the diets. It's like, well, people smell bad because they don't eat right, or something of that nature. Or maybe it was about deodorant.
Oh
And
goodness.
I don't know.
How
I'm
they
getting
tried
on.
to bring the conversation with that is just astounding. It's like
Well,
how
I'm
back to the point of how to do things different in a way that is more sustainable.
well, people just don't want to think about what could be done differently, or um, I mean, they know what works for them, or otherwise they're stressed out, which is normal. That's always our job to talk to everyone possible and be the annoying vegan slash green person who explains in a conversational tone that's compassionate and whatever, what could be different. How it might even be an improvement, and it likely would be an improvement. Because too many conversations will frame things as trade offs because you're always coming at it in the form of like, well, it's a trade off while we're still in the marketplace, while we're still, profit seeking or there's rent seeking involved. So we can't do this or that, which is why we always need to pair whatever climate change rhetoric or conversation we're having with a communist one. That's like, yeah, we really can't get around these problems as long as we have a market or capitalist economy. Or that, at least as far as practicality goes, we need a working class opposition to capitalism or capitalists so that we can actually effectively demand these infrastructure improvements in a systemic way and not just a block by block way, which is what's happening now with, say, my area, the municipal spending on transit infrastructure is very much all geared towards road bridges. Um, some of the bridges might have pedestrian or bike infrastructure put on, but it's not really that important. And what's interesting is that in the more suburban county, the richer one, they're putting in more roundabouts along the major thoroughfare, which does help with traffic flow. But if you're not maybe point out, it was pointed out to me or reminded because I don't have to bike through roundabouts very often, but they're really difficult to bike or walk through because the cars or the traffic is always moving. No one else can move through, which is how you get, I guess, those in the Netherlands. You have roundabout intersections that are large, and then you need a second um, raised pedestrian intersection or for bikes.
Yeah, things like that would actually help, as well as doing like some places in Europe have done where there are land bridges for animals to be able to cross on safely, which will cut down on traffic accidents and stuff like that as well as, helping to keep their numbers from being decimated by cars. There's a lot of things we could do that would actually improve our roadway systems, but trying to get anybody to actually do them is an uphill battle.
But it's a fight worth having.
So, because in my mind I'm still like stuck on climate change, right? There is a video of Jesus Christ. Hold on a second. I thought that the list was in the description of what this is. I guess I'll just click around in the video. 30th of July, there was one of several forest fires in the U.S. I mean, I guess I could just like show the video, actually. Hold on.
Yeah. Makes things easier.
Flooding in Russia.
Damn.
That's so much water.
Right.
Flooding in the United Arab Emirates.
It's not a place you expect to flood.
Right.
There's also been massive floods in India lately too, and China as well. Like, this is a global issue.
Are tornadoes uncommon in China? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not knowledgeable on that. But I mean, typhoons are a thing.
Yeah.
Flooding occurs most in areas where there is not a capacity to absorb water. So because it's usually maybe an arid area, you don't have a lot of capacity in the ground. Or you have areas like in the Arab Emirates where nothing is built to retain any water because water usually you don't get rainfall on the peninsula. So when water comes down, it really doesn't have anywhere to go. And that's why it just, it's there. It's not flowing anywhere. It's not going into rain ponds. Like, really, rain ponds are kind of everything. Fire swales. My city, since we had a pretty kind of nasty flood in certain areas of the city, like there's been a good amount of this spent to actually fix this problem. One of them is to have underneath one of our parks, they buried a bunch of shipping containers so that when it rains on the area, which would get inundated, all the shipping containers kind of have to fill first. So it acts as a kind of big cistern.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's some wind.
Right?
It really seems overwhelming when you see like the montage of all places at once. But yeah, it's bad overall. Weeks is the heat waves, or are they like?
I mean, I'm not totally sure what the dates for the heat wave are. But this particular video is from the 30th of July to the 5th, I think, of August.
Okay. So that's recent.
Yeah.
And it's flooding? Yeah. Because the more water we retain with lakes that, with coverings so they don't evaporate as fast, and ways of keeping water in the ground or absorbed with more foliage and less road space and brush and lots of everything. The more water we have for those droughts. The less severe the droughts are, the longer we can go without rainfall. So that's going to be really goddamn important. Even more so. My area is pretty good, but we're like lucky. The Northeast has plentiful water, but we're not also a breadbasket, so we haven't sucked up all the water. We grow apples and various things, but we're mountainous, and Kentucky knows this, if you're in Kentucky.
There's the flooding in India that Trisha mentioned a few minutes ago. Started on the 1st of August. And I believe that they still have flooding. And look at this fucking sinkhole in Chile.
That's a deep one.
That one is 100-foot wide, and it is deeper than the height of the Leaning Tower of Pisa. It's fucking insane.
How much?
I mean, since we're Americans,
audio.
right, and we'll measure in anything but the metric system, right? How many cows could fit in that sinkhole?
Oh my god.
That's more than one tornado in Russia I've seen on this week's update as well.
Right.
Is Dan still here? Did we lose him? He's still here, I think.
Still showing him in the studio. But I don't know. My signal's out too, so I wasn't sure if it was on my end or his that the audio was cutting out.
There we go.
Yeah,
I'm here.
Welcome back.
That's well, I know you were saying something, and then holy shit, India.
Oh yeah, I think yeah.
Hold on, let me go back a little bit because I missed that until it was almost gone.
Well, they do have a rainy season. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they do. But that's it.
People, they do have a rainy season, so Hey, look, elephant.
Look at the size of that hail.
Right? Dude, his windshield smashed. Holy fuck.
A landslide. Wow.
On camera. Because it seems to be a particular spot.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's really hitting everywhere harder than just the Imperial Core. Well, the great irony is that we'll be the last to feel it in its full severity.
Now, Japan, right? Japan historically has a lot of water, and it has land that is very good at absorbing water. And they still got flooding like this.
Dude.
No, I would really prefer if this gave the region that these are happening, because giving a country name is not that specific. Because
no, but that's what this channel's done for a couple of years now. They just give countries because they're internationally focused, and I'm not sure that they know what state is what in the U.S., for example. And to be
Is
honest,
it really
I
right?
would.
Is this
Yes.
Kentucky? This is probably from Kentucky, right? Or maybe it's in Texas, or maybe it's in Washington. Who the hell knows? And you know,
Right.
you could have an area that floods all the time, and it looks bad, but and it is bad. But like there are areas that like are almost meant to flood, you know, in the summertime. You know, there's monsoon season or whatever. So,
Right.
you know, when you say India, like that's a lot. There's a lot of river basins in India.
Mm-hmm.
And
Same thing for China, really.
Yeah, China.
Or
These are
Russia.
these are massive areas of land, and I think it does. It's sort of it's not a paradox to consider that like, oh, people won't know geography. It doesn't matter to put the region because people don't know the regions. Well, people will learn the regions if you give it, as well as maybe a map showing like this is the northern area of China or this is the western part of India, and it's that kind of stuff that like allows like that kids computer games or classroom activities would do. And if you don't have that going on forward through our lifespan, we kind of either lose that knowledge or we don't retain it, or if you didn't get it when you were a kid, you're never going to get it later.
Right. Bring back Carmen Sandiego. I learned so much as far as where certain places in the world were because of that game.
Right. So yeah, and it doesn't need to be a game for people to learn geography. If you have videos like this that are exciting or at least thrilling to watch in a way, it's like a nature version of riot porn.
Right.
So I brought up for I don't know, somewhat more positive news. I've been a contributor to Organizing Work. This is the newspaper or a labor journalism project related to the IWW. And so I could just read off some of the headlines if that's okay.
Yeah.
For it.
So one is, it's easier to beg for forgiveness. New Jersey transit workers sick out for Juneteenth. So it was back on June 18th. And the article's mostly about the sick out as a tactic. And it's powerful even if it's unpopular, because a lot of people, use New Jersey Transit. Anyway, next story. A Chicago teacher explains why he voted for today's remote-only work action. Yesterday, Chicago Public Schools teachers of the threshold set last year. This is going backwards through time. October 18th, strike that wasn't. Lees offers context to the recent IATSE strike and potential settlement. This is the general trade unions. Millions of workers are quitting but should organize instead. So this is a general commentary on the Great Resignation. Let's see. Remembering a strike and seeing how we've grown. On the 4th anniversary of a strike, Alexis, a server at Ellen's Stardust Diner in New York, reflects on the action with her coworkers. And we're going back full 2 years, so I'm going to stop there. They don't seem to put out a lot too much, but it is a small budding project, and they do have a podcast as well called the Wobcast. So that's organizing work at what's the underlining? Yeah, it's just organizing.org. That is and that's I was just reading what was under their reporting. Okay, so let's click on campaign stories.
Hello,
So-
Austin.
Hey, Austin.
Long time no see.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Austin is one of the founders of the For We Are Many podcast. He's taken a leave of absence for a while, I guess, suffice it to say. But I saw him in the comments, so I had to send him the link. Like, get your ass in here, bro.
Hell yes.
I've just been hanging out.
To see your smile. Yeah,
Thank
we've
you.
missed you, man.
Good to see all of you. I missed you all too.
So, guys, I'm going to bow out. I want to finish editing my podcast for the week and
That's
getting
fine.
ready for the weekend. I got a home improvement project to finish for reals. So, thank you very much for putting out the link, and so we can just jump on. We'll see you all again.
Yeah,
And
if you'd like,
oh yeah,
I was just gonna say, if you'd like to plug your social media channels in the comments or whatever, you're more than welcome to do that.
I'm not active, but I of course have accounts on Facebook. You can find me at 3 Lefts. By active, I mean I'm not like I'm not addicted. I'm free. I'm free of the Zuck. But anyway, 3 Left Show. I basically make local content now, but of course I have 150 episodes where I go over news, analysis, and leftist strategy. I think a lot of the content is evergreen. I made a point to only mention current events for maybe 5 minutes out of every hour that I'm doing the show. And so I go back, my archive goes back 3 years, which can be found in totality at 3lefts.news. That's with a numeral 3. And 3 Lefts stand for anarchism, socialism, and ecology. And my new program, or at least transition, same program, really different name, is What's Left in Albany, where I cover local news and whatever from a communist perspective. And I will be having a guest this Tuesday, which will be on the live stream, which can be found at grandstreetarts.org, which is a community-run radio station that I help manage. And I will have a guest who is a local socialist who is now the director of the nonprofit United Tenants of Albany. This is a nonprofit that would provide eviction defense and other services for tenants, but is now being, not completely, of course, switched away from that mission, but expanded to tenant organizing.
Nice.
So I'll be talking to Canyon, my comrade Canyon, about that.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, I want to thank you again for coming on.
Good night and hello, Austin. Pleasure.
Good night and hello. It's nice meeting you.
Good seeing you,
Brian.
How you been, Austin?
I've been good, hanging in there. Just been on TikTok mostly. So TikTok.
Yeah, every once in a while I don't go on TikTok often, but when I do, I see you.
Same.
I don't get on Facebook much. I literally lost like all my profiles and stuff, and I don't know like how to get them back. So I'm like left with like, I think Zen is my friend, and I think we are friends. Maybe, I don't know, but how have you all been?
Pretty good. I moved from Arizona to southern New England.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did. It is green out there.
Yeah, that means you're closer to me. So
yeah, where are you at again? Pennsylvania, right?
yeah. I mean, New England's a little closer than Arizona to me.
Well, a lot closer. I'm actually, later this month, I'm going to be going to Philadelphia for a few days.
May I ask why? Or
I'm gonna be hanging out. One of my buddies from Arizona's coming out. We just gonna be, bumming around Philly for a few days and going to a show. The 20 something, 25th maybe.
cool. What show?
Anthrax and Black Label Society.
Heck yeah, that sounds like a good show.
Right? Right? Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it.
I used to listen to Anthrax a lot when I was younger, so they're a good band.
Hell yeah.
But I figured I'd officially announce my candidacy on the 1st of next year, so we'll see how that goes.
Hell yeah. Have you decided what you're gonna, what office you're gonna pursue?
Well, Congress. I'm going for 16th District in Pennsylvania's Congress. I'm going to run no affiliation. Just because, I don't know. I figure if I run green, I don't know. Our town is the 16th District is pretty red. So I figured, I don't know, maybe I'd get more votes if I could trick some Republicans into voting for me or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably easier to do than a lot of people realize. And I don't mean that as you would be misleading them. I mean, you're talking about actual issues, and at the end of the day, the entire working class is all affected by these issues. It's not like conservatives are in a bubble protected from that.
No, and I mean, our area, got hit by NAFTA pretty hard with the whole steel industry being here in Pennsylvania. So a lot of people are still down on their luck, even though that was late, they took most of the job in the early 2000s, late 90s. I mean, no industry comes back, you know what I mean? So.
Right.
But we'll see. We'll see who wins this time. But I'm pretty sure it will be the Republican candidate. So.
Well, I think it's wise of you to run independent. That's one of those things. When you're speaking to working class issues that know no political bounds, you're going to reach a lot more people. Whereas if you were to run as a green, there would be a very small niche of people that would directly appeal to. Running independent not only shows that your dedication is more to the issues than to any given party, but you're expanding that basis that you can actually reach. Of hey, these are real fucking issues that affect every one of us, this working class.
Yeah.
So, all power to you. I hope you're able to actually grab that congressional seat because, we need good people in there. The fact of the matter is this two-party system has just left everybody disappointed and fully understanding that they aren't representing us at all. And I know you can't be bought off by corporate dollars, so
I would give you corporate dollars if I had corporate dollars.
Well, I appreciate that, but I probably wouldn't take them then.
Fair enough.
They need to make it so where everybody gets a $50 voucher, right? And then they can put that $50 towards the candidates they want. So it's not and take corporate donations out of it and make it so the people themselves can only donate. I mean, that's the only logical progress that we could make inside the system. But I mean, should the system really exist that we have,
To
be honest, all of it?
It is an illegitimate fucking governance that should not exist. It really shouldn't.
I mean, when you're born, yeah, exactly. When you're born from what we've done, how can a system regain anything when the people at the bottom have been suffering, the minorities and the people in poverty for the entire existence of the whole system that we have. I mean, it's not going to change
Right.
because
It was
the
built
people
on-
on top won't let it.
Right. They're totally dependent on keeping a fucking hierarchy in a class system, as well as multiple other fucking facets, whether it be gender, sexuality, race, etc. They love those hierarchies. And history has already shown us that people who are in power don't want to give up that power, and it has to be taken from them by force. You can't ask Europe to please stop oppressing me when they're taking away all of your rights.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, Lenin
Just
said
doesn't work
that Lenin said that revolutions are the locomotives of history, and I think that is a pretty applicable quote.
Yeah.
I mean, really, our entire system is designed to, prevent change. It is very much designed to keep the capitalist power structures intact.
Yeah. It's just, and it's, in order to have capitalism, you have to have poverty for it to actually work. I mean, you can't have everybody on equal playing fields, because then there would be nobody to do the jobs that these capitalists want us to do and make them money.
Right.
So we need a new system.
Without the threat of starvation or homelessness.
Yeah.
Your job doesn't seem so appealing,
Yeah, I mean,
right.
Everybody should be equated to those rights to housing, clean water, food, and then we'll see how compliant we are.
Right.
Because I mean, that would give us more
like,
time to do what we want.
Got to give a shout out to all the people who've been showing up to job interviews, and when they get asked, like, why do you want this job? There's people in mass being like, well, I've always been passionate about having housing and not starving. Like, come the fuck up. Why does anybody want a job? So you can survive.
Well, I mean, shit.
And
Like,
the
look
thing is, people
at
think
my
that capitalism
situation.
drives innovation. No,
necessity and labor are what drive innovation, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But like, even look
people.
at my situation here. I moved across the country. I was in a position where I didn't have to just take the first job that fucking got offered. Right? So like, I applied for places that, appear, at least on the surface, to treat their employees well. I applied for places that are paying a living wage. And I ended up getting a job with an employee-owned restaurant group. So, I mean...
Is it like a co-op then?
Is it what?
Like a co-op.
A co-op.
I mean, it's not quite a co-op. It's like a corporate employee-owned structure. Basically, the big thing is after you've been there a year, when your second year starts, you get employee stock options. So, like, you get profit-sharing checks every quarter is basically what that works out to. And there also is some democracy in the way that it functions overall. But, I mean, really, the people who call the shots are the people that have been there for, 5 years or more. But that being said, I've never had an opportunity to work for a place like that. And the wages are good. The working conditions are a lot better than I'm used to in a kitchen. I haven't been, like screamed at or cussed at or fucking burnt with a hot pan on, intentionally or anything crazy like that. But I mean, anyway, though, the point is that, like in the town that I live in, there was a bar that closed like 2 weeks ago, right? And there's all these like people in comments on Facebook posts about it, talking about, You know, like, oh, well, I used to work there and the fucking owner was an asshole. You know, he paid us the least amount that he could get away with. He treated us like shit. He expected us to work off the clock. Surprise, they went out of business because we're at a point where nobody, okay, so like if you're making minimum wage, I don't care what state you're in, right? You're not going to be able to pay for housing, let alone healthcare or a car.
Right.
So I mean, you
People are
know,
shit
like
on minimum
when
wage.
you have options like, for example, the Newport Restaurant group, they have 17 locations. It's employee owned. They offer good wages, good benefits, and you get profit sharing. Of course, the places that are offering $12 an hour are going to go out of business.
Yeah, especially they got, I think it's like McDonald's, a lot of the places it's like 13 to 15 just to work there, you know, I mean,
Yeah,
so nobody wants to work at an actual restaurant making less or something, you know, when we know that that restaurant's probably making more, not like more, but you know, like, because McDonald's is more of like a real, or what do they call them? They're like realtors, or you know what I mean? It's not like a fast food. It's not majorly fast food. They actually just rent out their buildings to people. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Yeah, and I remember the term for it.
Yeah, I can't either.
Where you basically buy into the. It's franchised.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of like
And I
you get to
mean,
buy in and you know you must order all of your food products, if we can even really fucking call them that, from the corporate entity to keep everything uniform. It's franchise.
and I'm not trying to say that those people are making enough, because we all know that, you know, fast foods, they're still not making enough there. So
Right.
everybody needs to be making. I mean, if inflation kept up with minimum wage, it'd be around what, 30 now, 30 something, especially since this year happened.
If you factor in productivity, it would be probably double that too. Honestly, at this point,
Yeah.
I'd have to look it up. It's been a minute since I've looked it up, but yeah, if the wages kept up with the inflation and the productivity changes, yeah, we'd be talking a lot more fucking money it would cost these people to actually get employees in there to work. And I really think the only way to really move forward with this is to shift everything over to being employee owned. That's the only way people are not going to get on the surplus value of food. There shouldn't be any such thing as a profit margin for people on top to steal the wages from everybody producing whatever that product is that that business is in the line of. It's not okay. People are fucking starving, and we've got Congress out here talking about we need to lower wages to decrease inflation. It's like, are you fucking high? We can't survive as it is. Like, lowering wages is the actual opposite of the solution.
yeah.
Yeah. But they keep on giving themselves raises. So, I mean,
Right. That's the thing.
it's
Like,
disgusting.
there's so many corporations right now that are claiming they need to lower wages, yet they're reporting record fucking profits. And it's like, excuse me, do you think we're all fucking stupid? Like, if you're collecting record profits, guess what? Those should be getting dispersed amongst the people who actually produced them. That's called unpaid wages.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, yep. That's exactly what it's called. Any kind of profit is them not paying their people accordingly. So,
Yeah.
I mean, why do you need to make more money every year I mean, like millions more every year, than I don't. It's just disgusting what companies can do, what they do.
Yeah. Like Walmart, for example, claiming that they can't afford to pay all their employees a living wage, yet the Walton family members each take home, I believe the last time I looked it up, it was around like $87,000 a minute each.
Yeah,
It's like,
and
excuse me, if you can afford to pay yourself that, fuck you, pay your employees.
I know they're making. I think it's like $1,000 or so when a stalker puts up goods. That's how much an hour. That's how much they're putting up, and they're only getting paid $15 an hour.
Right.
So I mean, it's just like, you know. So because they even made it so they have to put up more goods now, after everything's been going on. So they've changed stuff and made it seem like they care, but then they because they took away like they had this list of how long it was supposed to take you, and now they took it away because people were complaining because they were falling behind. So that now they brought it back because they weren't meeting their productivity.
Wow. Oh, the exploitation needs to end. It's fucked.
She's getting real big. She's almost 4 now. And December 12th, she'll be 4. You believe that?
Wow.
That's all I've been doing is I'm still staying at home raising her. So, but we're going to put her in preschool next year. So I can probably get a part-time job and try to run my campaign and do a part-time job. So it will be fun.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, sounds fun.
How's everybody else been? I mean, I just see you two, so.
Well, Dean hasn't really been around much. Don left months ago.
Why Don
Sterling
leave?
is, I don't know, honestly.
Just like me, I just up and left.
I mean, yeah. Well, I would say that's more true for Dean.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I know Don, I think that there was some ideological differences, I think, is part of it, and then also he just didn't want to put the time and effort into um, the shows and the prep for the shows anymore, which I mean, I understand. That's part of why, we haven't done a show in the previous 2 weeks. I mean, we've literally everybody in the group chat has got shit going on in their lives, and we're all just beat down.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, I understand that. I mean, I'm going through the same stuff, What else happened? My brother got out of prison. That was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So, but I don't know. I don't think it's gonna last at my dad's house. So that's where he's at. So, oh well. I don't know. I just been trying to meet people and get, a hold of people on TikTok, and I got somebody that's willing to do like commercials for me when I run for free. So
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
that's cool. So
That's up.
we'll see. How do you like New England?
Well, for the most part, I like it a lot more than Arizona. But that being said, it comes with its own host of issues. And NSC 131 has been very active all across New England lately. That stands for National Socialist Conference or National Socialist Club. They're Nazis. They're fucking
Yeah,
Nazis. And the
yeah,
the
I
131
figured.
is
Yeah.
anti-communist action. But they were distributing leaflets in Rhode Island. They marched in Boston. They've been holding like massive get-togethers in like rural Vermont and New Hampshire, all the way up to Maine.
Did they have
But
counter protests when they did their march in Boston, or?
well, I mean, counter protests were immediately attempted, but on a meaningful scale, no, because the Nazis basically did a flash mob tactic, and the only reason any of the counter protesters caught up to them is because the transit union delayed their train.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's some fucking solidarity right there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like all these anti-fascists. I love it when people are like, "Oh, anti-fascist, you're a bunch of fascists." What? What are you talking about? But I don't. This country with the Christian nationalism is getting a little out of hand, I think. I mean, I was happy that they raided Trump. I thought that was kind of funny. But
yeah, and then his dumbass is trying to like spark a civil war over it, and now all these conservatives are like, "Oh, the FBI is bad. Defund the FBI," and I'm just like,
Great idea, wrong motivation.
yeah, right. I knew they'd get to our page somehow. I didn't know how they would get there, but
Right.
yep.
Yeah.
But did you see Marjorie Taylor Greene's tweet? She said that. She said defund the FBI. I thought that was very funny.
Yeah.
Considering they were simping for him not too long ago, for the because I mean the FBI are basically cops, and I mean why not defund them all? If you're going to defund one, defund them all. So
right, all of them across the board. Fuck.
But I don't know. Did you hear what it was about?
Well, like the protest itself.
No, them raiding.
Yeah. It was about mishandling of classified documents.
Yeah, they're speculating that it might be codes or something, or like
like nuclear codes. It's fucking crazy, right?
Yeah, I can't believe that.
I hope they've already gone in and changed said nuclear codes just to be on the fucking safe side.
Yeah, I think they do it. I think they change them automatically when a new president enters, office. But who knows? I mean, just for him to have that sensitive documents for 2 years is insane.
Yeah.
Who did he give that information to? Who, I mean, because Trump's a businessman. Why not, distribute that information, by selling it? Who knows? I don't know. I'm just speculating, by the way. So if anybody's watching this, it's just speculation. Nothing, nothing solid evidence.
But the thing is, like, I mean, if that is the case, then we're talking more counts of treason, and I find it problematic that all the MAGAs out there are getting in an uproar about this when their desire is clearly to bring him back and basically instill him as, a dictator over the country. And it's like, yeah, no, that's not what we need. it's just fucking crazy. I mean, some of them are already going apeshit. One dude got his ass murked by the feds because he decided to bust up in the FBI office, armed and trying to, protest them raiding Trump, and was put down on the spot, But, like, if we can get them to see some sense of the legitimate reasons why we definitely need to fund the FBI and every other flavor of pig out there, okay. But, we really don't need them trying to use that as one more path to try to bring Trump back as a fucking dictator. That's It's not going to solve problems. That's going to make more of them.
So Natalie said in the comments, and she's referring to the raid on Trump's, I don't want to call it a house, on Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah.
She said it's stirring up the alt-right extremists, though, and that could become a real problem. Comrades, we need to take it seriously, in my honest opinion. And I replied to that. The recent activities and alliances between groups like the Proud Boys and NSC 131 only serve to show just how serious the issue is. I mean, I've seen a lot of that kind of shit here in New England since I've been here, and I haven't been here that long, right? So, I mean, like, most of it, luckily, does not seem to be local to me, but it's going to become that way. I mean, they were distributing literature in Rhode Island. There was 2 of them arrested in Providence for breaking a city ordinance about putting literature on, like, power poles, right? So, like, that's what they ended up getting hemmed up on, which is just fucking funny. Back in February, actually, I have a video of this. Back in February, they marched on, it was the anniversary of the Communist Manifesto, right? In Providence, there's this community library called the Red Ink Library. It's run by an anarchist, but it's used as an organizing space. And I think it was the PSL and the Communist Party USA were doing a reading of the Communist Manifesto that day. And, then NSC 131 shows up and, I mean, they're literally flying a flag with SS bolts and a swastika in the middle.
I'm standing right here. I'm not getting knocked out.
Nazi scum.
And you're hearing the Nazis drowned out by the counter protesters, who, by the way, just happened to live in the neighborhood, and they saw a fucking swastika flag, and they just came out of their houses and started chanting Nazi scum off our streets, and they got fucking ran out. But the point is that they're not afraid. Last month in Massachusetts, they were doing an aid outreach thing, right? Like, I mean, that's something that you would see on the communist side out of groups like the Panthers, right? Survival programs is how the Panthers would refer to them. But I mean, we literally have Nazis reaching out to, like, drug addicts on the streets of Boston. Like,
so they're doing mutual aid.
Yes, because I mean, they're also anti-capitalist.
Yeah.
But I mean, they want us and anybody who thinks like us dead. Straight up.
And they're trying, and with mutual aid, they'll be able to flip people in those communities because they see them doing good things. You know what I mean? That's scary. That's very scary.
That's very scary, yes. And I just wanted to, circle back to Natalie's comment about that raid stirring up the alt-right. The alt-right is already stirred up. They have been since 2017. And since then, they've been organizing on a frightening scale. And it just keeps going. And now they've realized that they'll get run out if they, march on a place, or if they hold a march in a particular area. So now they do, like, flash mob type shit.
Right.
That's crazy.
sorry, go ahead, Austin.
The right, the extreme right can organize. You know what I mean? And the government looks at them, but when the left does it, they intervene. They'll intervene against us more than they would them. I mean, how's it go? Some of those who work forces are the same that burn crosses. So I mean, that's why
Back.
we're more of a threat to them than they are, and that's what's scary.
Well, that's part of the problem is you guys are direct affected by interdepartment task force that is a combination of local pigs and fed pigs. There's one, if I remember right, his name is Agent Creedy, who has been spotted, chumming it up with NSC leadership at the majority of these marches that they're doing. And these guys are literally protecting them. Like, everybody was wondering that day you were referring to when the people who work at the train slowed down the train to give the counter protesters a chance to catch up with where they were going. Well, when they went in, they had all their little baby shields and stupid shit they were carrying. But when they got off the train, they didn't have that. And everybody's like, where'd they stash their shit? Well, the feds escorted them to their U-Haul trucks to unload all their little baby shields and bullshit first before getting on the train. They're being protected by this task force. And that's fucked.
Remember I had those marches here, and those people threatened our lives on there, literally saying they would run us over. And the cops, it was on the cops' Facebook page that they said that. And all the cops did was delete the messages. Like, that's literally terroristic,
Wow.
That's threats. I don't know if it's terroristic threats, but it's threats against, our citizens here. And that's all they did was delete the freaking messages. And it's like,
and
so
you need to keep eyes open.
I'm gonna have to be careful with this, but you saying those lyrics reminded me of a very specific moment of Rage Against the Machine that I feel the need to plug right now, and it really bothers me that now that they're back, like in an official big way, that they haven't organized a protest at the Democratic or Republican national conventions like they did back in the year 2000. I believe that they organized protests outside of both of them and played at both of them. And the one at the Democratic convention was cracked down on hard by the police. Fucking surprise, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, I'm going to keep it short so we don't get flagged, but I'm going to mute it from time to time so we don't get flagged. But look at this fucking crowd. No, I mean, back in 2000, they were chanting, "No justice, no peace, no racist police." That was 14 years before the start of the Black Lives Matter movement.
Right.
And I mean, now that they took a fat paycheck to come back, why are they not doing the activist-y type stuff? Why are they not... I mean, they did put abort the Supreme Court on their backdrop.
They did, but I mean, there's one thing holding a concert there and in a private area than going to a public area and holding a concert. You know what I mean? It's like, I'll just say this: they're worth enough to eat. All right. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, especially since, like I said, I mean, they got a fat payday for the reunion that they're currently doing. And sure, they're donating some of it to nonprofits and whatever. But what I always liked about Rage Against the Machine is that they're like an activist band, right? They always have been. And it feels like in their age they've gotten pretty liberal. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know if I'd go that far to call them liberal.
Well, yeah, Tom
Just
Morello would probably beat
not-
my ass for that statement, but
yeah.
I mean, but
apologize.
Tom Morello used to be all over Twitter, you know, spouting communist rhetoric and throwing his Harvard fucking political science degree in people's faces. But now there's a lot of silence on issues that matter, I feel like.
Right. Who knows? They could be in the
Except
midst of
for
writing
the
another album.
abort the
That's
Supreme
all
Court
they
thing.
put out. Right.
That's fair. That's fair.
I think that we should move fast and turn the Supreme Court into a fucking Halloween store, and we could make it happen if we move quick enough. Anyway.
I've been listening to this band. I don't know if you've heard of them. They're called Wingnut Dishwashers Union.
No.
Never heard of them.
They're pretty good. They have this song that's called Urine Speaks Louder Than Words. And it's like, yeah, it's good. And then they talk about urinating on politicians or on prison wardens and stuff like that. It's pretty good.
Hell yeah. Golden showers for the win.
All right.
Oh man. It's just ridiculous. The shit show that we live in. God damn it. Yes, James, we know you love Led Zeppelin. We know.
Yes, we do.
What I liked about seeing Rage come back was the fact that all these Republicans are now confused because back in the day they liked them, and now they're like, wait, they're leftists.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, haha, gotcha.
Yeah, right.
Man.
But I mean, I will say, in terms of like the vibes it shows, though, this is completely unrelated. And I'm sorry for going down this rabbit hole, but this was at a show in Arizona, right? Slipknot was playing, and they were playing a song called "All Out Life," which is literally just like a blistering critique of the world today, right? And then this group of metalheads on the lawn lit a fire and threw a bunch of lawn chairs on it, and there was a circle pit going around the fire, right? And this is probably the most like tribalistic, like one of the strongest like senses of unity I've had in a long time. And like this is the energy that we need in daily life, right?
Yeah.
Hold on, let me gotta get through this little interlude right here. My favorite part's right after this. Okay. There's like 15,000 people chanting, "We are not your kind," while there's a circle pit happening around this fire.
Gotta love that Slipknot fan energy going on.
So anyway, the point is, though, the reason that I bring this up is that song was meant to be a critique of society, and then it resonated with the crowd so well that they started a fire and were ready to fuck shit up. But we need to bring that energy to our activism, right? So like not necessarily just like, light a fire to light a fire, no, but I mean, we really do need to like have some motivation and a sense of urgency and a sense of unity.
If we had 15,000 people on the street, a lot of cities, a lot of places couldn't do anything about it. So they would just have
Right.
to let it go. Like, why? Back in the day when they had Woodstock, and you think, well, there's like 1 million people there. Could you imagine if we literally went to the streets with 1 million people? What they
Yeah.
would, it would
Well,
scare.
and that's what gets me about that show, right? Like, okay, so like I guess to give a little more like context, I was gonna say backstory, but that wouldn't have been right because it happened after. But like after that song, Live Nation owns the venue. Live Nation was like, "All right, you guys got to get off stage." And I thought that place was going to erupt into a fucking riot, dude. Like it took about a half an hour for the fire department to get in and put out the fire, and the show was delayed for that whole time. And like you could feel the tension in the air, dude. Like either they're gonna come back or this will be the last show that ever happens here. Like, and they did come back, and the most epic moment of the night, beating even the circle pit around the fire and the chanting "We are not your kind." The part that, like, when they came back on stage, there's a police helicopter flying overhead, and they've got a spotlight on the crowd, and Slipknot comes back out to play "People Equal Shit." that was just epic. But no, anyway, so like the point is that like we've learned nothing from Woodstock 99, right? That was 250,000 people, right? 250,000 angry people, right? And they ripped that stage apart, and it all came down to how the thing was run. They ripped that stage apart and basically rioted when the show was ended early. Imagine if that 250,000 people had, instead of rioting at a fucking festival, if they had like, had some focus and some direction and harnessed that energy.
Yeah,
Right.
I think something like that could probably cripple the government. Really, the United States, they wouldn't be able to handle that. I don't even think with them calling in National Guard they could handle it with that many people. So I mean, our system is so fragile that it would only take something like that to break it. I mean, what could that many people could do so much in this country? Like they could literally move from like city to city and protest everywhere. You know.
Well, and I mean, for that matter, like if we're really trying to like overwhelm resources, imagine you have 250,000 people and you break them into like 100 groups scattered around the city. Not only is your message being heard by, a multitude more people, but let's see the police try to respond to 100 protests of like 2,000 people apiece.
Yeah. I mean, you would also probably get people just to protest with you there, from them protesting. Like people would come out of their houses and join and
yeah. And I mean, really, that level of organization is something that I was really looking for in the George Floyd uprisings, and I'm sad that never came to fruition. But the idea is to continue learning and apply these things at a later date too. So obviously, none of these struggles are done. But what I worry about is our descent into fascism has got a lot of people scared to even attempt organizing. Like, how destitute does it have to get Americans to care?
We have a completely fascist adjacent party of the Democrats.
Nothing is worse than fascism than the liberalism that enables it. I probably butchered that, but it was supposed to be a Lenin quote.
Got the drift. Yeah. Sadly,
Am I unmuted
that's
now?
the biggest
Yeah.
we're facing right now.
Yeah.
What's up, Austin?
He was asking if he was unmuted now, but we heard him, so obviously the answer was yes.
The screen keeps on messing up on my phone. I don't know if it's just like me or it's like
Natalie
glitching.
said in the comments, if not now, when? And that's exactly it. And I mean, there's a lot of good organizations out there that are doing good work on the ground. There's the Party for Socialism and Liberation, right? There's the Green Party. If you can, have the patience to deal with the older liberals, that are involved with the party. Even the Democratic Socialists of America. I mean, there's a lot of political education that can happen there. Somebody's just got to be willing to put the time in.
Right.
But I mean, there's a lot of people whose hearts are in the right place who are trying to figure out, what activism means for them and how they can get involved. So ultimately, what we need to do is we just need to talk to our neighbors, talk to the people we work with, talk to the people that we go to shows with, or drink at the bar with, or play pool with, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like conversation is where it needs to start in general. And that doesn't mean scare people off talking about the dictatorship of the bourgeoisie or talking about the labor theory of value or,
Yeah. You gotta
but I mean,
sugarcoat
like,
shit.
meeting people where they are and really talking about the issues that you and them face every day.
Yeah. And I mean, you can flip Republicans pretty easily because they're disenfranchised too right now. I mean, they don't know which way to turn. A lot of them, unless they're Trumpicans, and then they usually worship the big orange man. So it's hard to do that. But I mean, a lot of the working class are, they're tired of all of this crap, and they know neither party works for them. No matter what party they pick to follow, they still know that the two system party isn't for them any longer.
Yeah.
But there's like that's where praxis comes in. You gotta like sugarcoat stuff. You gotta be sweet about things to try to get people to listen to sometimes, and it works. Not all the time, but it does work.
Oh, but back to what I was saying a few minutes ago. I almost forgot, right? I was saying that there's plenty of organizations no matter where you're at. I didn't finish my list. I got distracted by something. But anyway, so I mentioned, PSL, CPUSA, DSA, right? But then there's also, the United Panther movement. There are other Panther organizations or Panther adjacent organizations. There's the North Alabama School of Organizers. There's the Second Rainbow Coalition. I mean, if you want to get involved organizing on the ground, there are a million different places you could start.
Yeah.
And I mean, just reaching out is step one.
Yeah. And you don't have to have boots on the ground to be involved.
Right. I mean, it does help. But I mean, if you're not able to put boots on the ground, there's still going to be roles, for everybody.
Yeah.
Andreas asked if can states not be self-countries or whatever. On paper, you would think right? That okay, so you brought up the European Union. I'm glad for that. So like on paper, that's kind of how it sounds, right? But the laws of the states usually don't mesh well, and then the federal government is there to smooth all of that over. That's supposed to be their only job. As we know, they don't do that. So we're kind of just like a mishmash of at least a dozen different countries that probably should not be one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
No state really agrees on anything that too major. I mean, I guess they do, but I don't. There's so much difference between, like, say, Texas and, California or something when it comes to laws.
Andreas, Puerto
Puerto
Rico
Rico,
is a territory of the U.S. Like, and it sucks
yeah,
because
I
they
would
have to
say
pay
that
for the
we illegally
taxes.
occupy them.
Yeah, that America
I
has
mean,
colonized.
they don't get a vote, but they do get taxed. We won't let them become a state. We don't invest in their infrastructure. Um, and I
Well,
mean, I guess you could say that it's Spain historically, in like in terms of the colonizer mentality. Um, but I mean, Latin America is very much its own thing with its own culture. They were just occupied by Spain for a long time.
Right.
when we had that hurricane, it took us forever to give them aid.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, yeah. Oh my God, yeah. There was like three-quarters of the island without power or something like that, and it took us almost a month to get any aid there. Like what?
yeah, they had people dying because of that, because they didn't have clean water to drink, they didn't have power, and we're supposed to be taking care of them. That's how we take care of our own people, though, too. It doesn't usually take us that long, but still, they don't care for us. If they didn't have to, they wouldn't help us.
Yeah. Um. Anyway, though, yes, James Trump did tell them to use their own money, which they don't have because we've taken it all, and the
Right.
Spanish before us. Um. That being said, I don't think that I really have anything else to contribute to this. Um, I'm tired.
Same.
You working long hours, or?
Not as long as I was in Arizona. Um, I
I
mean, the
know
place that I'm at now is actually pretty legit. I mean, when I said that I was willing to work a 40-hour week, but I don't want to work overtime anymore, they were just like, "Cool,
Really? That's awesome.
yeah."
Well,
And
I
I
know
mean,
how
at
the
this point,
restaurant
I'm used
business
to
is.
mandatory overtime, and
Yeah, they were working you to the bone in Arizona. I know that.
yeah.
I know that.
Um, but here I'm making more money and I have more freedom to do my own thing.
Do you like living where you are, or?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the middle of nowhere. Um, well, as far as the East Coast goes, as you know, nothing is really the middle of nowhere here.
Yeah.
But I mean, I got to drive 15 minutes to get to the grocery store, so that's something.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, I mean, I'm cool with that because, like, I'm not going to the grocery store every day just to get a couple of things and walk out with like 3 bags worth of shit I don't need.
Yep. Do you got a big yard?
Yeah, yeah, it's well, definitely a lot bigger than the yard I had in Arizona.
Well, I mean, you can actually plant a lot more stuff now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I have some stuff planted this year, but I had to do it pretty small scale because we didn't move in till the middle of July.
Yeah.
So, like I wasn't going to be planting corn from seed or anything like that.
No.
But Caitlin, she lives a couple hours away. She started some plants for me, and I went up there and picked them up and planted them. And then I did start some stuff from seed, like lettuce and spinach and herbs and shit like that. But yeah,
Stuff that grows a little faster.
right, right, yeah, right. Radishes, carrots. I'm
Yeah.
trying pumpkins because they grow late anyway. I
Yeah, they
planted
do.
them. I planted them like less than a week after I got here. So I mean, it'll be close if I actually get to harvest any, but I think it'll
E-
work out.
Even if you can't harvest them, you still have the seeds for next year too. So pumpkins taste
Yep.
so bad, huh? I don't know. I like
I
it.
won't
It was
that
nice
one.
talking to you, both of you. When are you on next? When will you guys be on next? Or
Probably Tuesday night, I think.
Tuesday night?
Yeah.
All right.
It's not. I would say it's not set in stone yet. But we are probably switching to Tuesday because um, I'm working Friday to not get stuck with the shit schedule. I want my days off together.
Yeah. Yep. I hate that when they separate your freaking days off. Oh my god. All you want to do is
Yeah.
sleep all the time.
Yeah, and I mean this place is busy, so I mean I will say that it has been like physically draining, but now that I'm used to it, it's not nearly as bad. But like that first week, dude, I was coming home and it was like I would shower and go to bed. That was it. But now that I'm used to it, I'm kind of like in a groove, so it's not so bad. But that first week was brutal. Like this place is busy. Saturday night we did 452 covers, something like that.
Ooh.
Like obscenely busy.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, but I mean we have the staffing for it, so
So it's not like you're overworked there. I mean,
right. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm like during service, I am working,
oh, but
but
I mean that
like
also makes the night go by faster too when you're working like that.
yeah, definitely. I mean, compared to my last job, dude, like a 9 hour shift there felt like 3 fucking days. A 9 hour
Yeah.
shift where I'm at now, it's like, oh wow, I only took one smoke break in that 9 hours. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
or like, I don't know, like you go through a good push and you're like, wow, that was probably like a good 20 minutes, and it was like 2 hours.
Yeah. I miss working. I won't lie. I miss working.
I mean, I thought for a while that I was not going to be going back into the industry, but I'm kind of glad that I did, honestly. Like, I missed the rush, like the adrenaline that happens when you got a full board of tickets and you're just trying to fucking slam shit out, like.
Yeah. Well, when it happens, you feel very accomplished. Like you're like, hell yeah, I did that. So
Yeah, and I mean, like it's good food. It's 2 blocks off the beach. So it's pretty seafood focused, which is new to me. So that's part of it. The part of it that's cool too. And I mean, don't get me wrong, we had fish in Michigan, but we didn't have that much saltwater stuff.
yeah.
But I've been cooking monkfish and swordfish and scallops and clams and lobster. I mean,
Now I want some seafood.
Yeah, I need to like figure out where I've been told by locals that the best bet for seafood is to do like like charter tours or like a catch your own type situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, apparently that's the cost effective way to do it. I mean, you can go to a seafood place that's like right on the ocean and get fresh seafood, but you're gonna pay for it there.
Man, arm and a leg.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're trying to get that tourist money. I can't even fucking blame them. I mean, all those fuckers from Florida come up here and clog up the roads. Better at least make them pay for it. Shit.
Yeah, charge them for it. Yeah. Yeah, it would be difficult to have Florida people visit here. I wouldn't like that.
Yeah. I haven't had to deal with Florida people since I moved out of Michigan.
Oh, goodness. See, now, I love, because I love the weather there. And there is a ton of awesome people there. Not everybody fits into the Florida man paradigm. There are some awesome people there. I've know like some chosen family of leftists there that I'm so that at least there's some of them present. But yeah, there's so many Florida people that Florida, Michigan people just make me cringe. Yeah. Go to the morning areas, Like the Keys are awesome.
Yeah. Well,
the
and
Keys
then,
don't even
and
like.
then there's also like
Florida. They're like, we are not Florida. We are the
believe that.
What we get around here, we get a lot of Republicans that come down from Pittsburgh because they figure, oh, this is the country, so they're it's red down here, so oh man, I don't like it at all. They and they don't think their shit stinks either. So
of course not.
Well, smells like roses.
I'll have to get a hold of. Yeah, all right. If you guys are on Tuesday.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, I've seen these things where people are actually buying, like, gold flake glitter capsules to eat so that their shit sparkles. And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Don't you have better things to do with your time and your money? Anyway.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. So I started playing this, mind you, talking about people spending money stupidly. I started playing this game. It was called Diablo Immortal. And somebody just spent $100,000 on the game. And I'm like, why? You could do so much with that money. Yeah. Yeah, you could do so much with that money.
Oh my God. That's when you know some motherfuckers just have too much money. When you can drop $100,000 on a game.
Yeah.
Just to play a game, buying add-on features, like I could see dropping $100,000 to produce a new game.
Yeah, but not to like be the best at the game because you have to pay to win. It's those people that they're on the menu too. You know what I mean? So. Oh well.
Barbecue time. Rob's bringing the seasoning.
So the FBI, this is since we started streaming. Well, I found it since we started streaming, I guess I should say. The FBI announced that they have found 11 sets of classified documents in the raid at former President Trump's estate at Mar-a-Lago. And then Trump put out a statement saying that it was all declassified. They didn't need to seize it. They could have just asked. And the bigger problem is, what are they going to do with the 33 million pages of documents, many of which are classified, that President Obama took to Chicago?
Oh my God. Too much. Like, you're fucking kidding me.
Yeah. I'm not even going to begin to deconstruct that I am too drained to even go down that rabbit hole right now.
Oh goodness. Yes. And the dogs are telling me that it is dog o'clock. They want my attention. They're wrestling on the fucking bed next to me. Puppy.
All right. Well, I guess it is about that time. So it's probably James's favorite part of the show.
Yes, indeed.
Reminder: we will be back Tuesday, not Friday, and hopefully Austin will also join us. We'll we'll try to see about bringing on some guests. We haven't done that in a while. If you have, if you would like to be on the show, hit us up. Just message the Facebook page, email us at forwearemanypodcast@gmail.com. Hit the contact us form on forwearemany.org. Any of that works. Yeah. All right. I think that's all I got.
Yeah. Oh, also on Monday, come check out Bread Theory. We will be continuing to read Howard Zinn's book, A People's History of the United States. It's very eye-opening and fucked up. It's real unwhitewashed history. So yeah, that's been an intriguing read that has lit a fire under my ass quite a few times. So join us for that too. And we have more Panther classes coming up soon here too. I've got to get the new schedule kicked out. I grabbed it the other day out of the chat.
I will put it on the screen for a minute here.
Cool. I'm glad you have that right on hand.
I'm working on it. I have it somewhere. Oh, well, it's kind of small to put on the screen. So, dates and times. They put dates, but they didn't put the day of the week. Hold on.
If I remember right, it's Sundays and Wednesdays. It might be Saturdays and Wednesdays. I'm losing track of days at this point because the schedule changes.
Well, I mean, they have more than just the two courses now, which I don't know how that's going to work. Like, we're going to have to bring somebody from the UPM on if we're going to stream all of these things.
Yeah, because there's the Hassan Shakur political education classes just restarted on Saturday.
That's Saturday.
There's an MLM class,
which is Sunday.
The reading group of Blood in My Eye by George Jackson,
which is Tuesday. And then
there's also backup classes in case you miss a session.
Yeah. The MLM evening class is Thursday.
Yeah. So circus juggling over here, but we'll get it together.
That's the link.
Right on. That works.
I mean, I could also, do this, but that's a bitch to read, right?
Yeah. That's so small.
And I can't zoom in any further than that. But the info is right here.
Yeah. It's too small even to read on my computer screen. So I doubt if anybody watching from their phones can even fucking make any of that out.
You can get that information at the New African Black Panther Party Facebook page.
Yes.
I didn't have to scroll too far back to find it.
Yeah.
All right.
Sweet.
Well,
love, peace, solidarity, all that good shit.
Solidarity comments.
It was fucking awesome seeing you again, Austin.
It was awesome seeing both of you. I appreciate you both so much.
Same. Love and miss you. And thank you to everybody in the audience. It was awesome meeting you, Andreas. And thank you, James and Natalie, for always being here. Y'all are fucking solid. We love you. And we will see you again soon.
Peace.
Tuesday.
Yes.
absolute freedom there. And we're all looking for freedom. It's going to
Didn't matter when they sold the devil guns. Didn't matter when they played us strut. Didn't matter when they stole your mother's sons. Now everyone's out of their mind. Bullshit, these unemployment lines don't know the candles to their corporate crimes. To the government, I want to know no peace of mind. You live on the matter is the one who's falling better than your grandkids here to joy. When you watch them, their reaction to every little living being you soul. Still the public is metamorphosed to the status quo.
reflections. We don't make mistakes. We have happy accidents. Just don't worry about it. Learn how to use what